Hey guys, it's Chris. From a tsunami that devastated Thailand beachgoers to a random homeless man set on fire by hooligans at the beach. Here are 10 of the most horrifying, dangerous, and unbelievable beach trips ever. Number 10. The Wedding Crasher. A bride and groom recently had the worst beach trip ever when they were almost carried out to sea by a huge wave while trying to take wedding photos at a beach in Southern California. The photo shoot went wrong almost immediately as the couple were swept off a rock jutting out of the shore near their hotel in Treasure Beach Island. Eyewitnesses saw the massive wave come barreling towards the couple, but there was nothing they could do. The woman was in her white gown and the man in his black tuxedo, and both of them were literally pulled backwards into the ocean by the wave. They got sucked off the rock and dragged into that chilly Pacific Ocean. And it was lucky there were eyewitnesses, as help was quickly called and lifeguards came to the rescue to pull the couple out of the water. Rescue workers had to use a special floating tube to pull the newlyweds to safety. If you think it's hard to swim in the ocean on a normal day, imagine trying to stay afloat while wearing a giant wedding dress. The poor woman almost drowned, and all because they wanted to get some dramatic wedding photos. According to the report in People magazine, the couple were never named, but local news did say that neither of them were seriously injured, though they were definitely traumatized. Number 9. The 2004 Tsunami. Boxing Day 2004 was without a doubt one of the worst beach days in recent memory. This was the day that a tsunami rocked a huge portion of Southeast Asia, including Thailand and Indonesia. A total of 20,000 people died when an underwater earthquake set off one of the biggest waves in modern history. The reason this tsunami is so horrifying is that nobody saw it coming. The earthquake came out of nowhere, and if you happened to be anywhere near the coast at the time, there was a pretty good chance you weren't making it out alive. According to the BBC, the earthquake was a 9.1 on the Richter scale, with the rupture only lasting about 10 seconds. However, the tsunami waves reached extraordinary heights of almost 90 feet. Just try to imagine a 100-foot wave crashing down on you while trying to build a sandcastle. And perhaps the most well-known incident for Westerners was in Thailand, where around 5,500 people died almost instantaneously, about half of whom were foreigners. Those enjoying the holiday sun and sand at some of Thailand's most popular beach resorts looked up from their morning breakfast to see people running and screaming while a giant wave crashed to the shore. Those staying in seaside resorts were killed almost instantly, while entire fishing villages were wiped off the map. This was a bad day to be on the beach in Thailand. It was also a bad day to be near the shore in Sri Lanka's capital city of Colombo, where the tsunami slammed into a crowded train, killing 1,700 people and becoming the world's worst rail disaster in history. Number 8. Wrong turn at the beach. A day at the beach turned into a massacre when 2 German tourists were stabbed to death and 4 other tourists were seriously injured. This happened in Egypt at an extremely popular seaside vacation spot located on the shores of the Red Sea. And this knife man had apparently gone to the beach with the sole intention of stabbing tourists. This lunatic showed up at the Zahabia Hotel in Hurghada, stabbed 2 people, then swam to another beach and kept on going. He was eventually captured by staff and arrested, but not before he had spilled a whole lot of blood. And obviously, it goes without saying that the last thing anyone expects on their beach vacation is a lunatic like this coming out of nowhere. This was way back in 2017, and it turned into one of the deadliest beach days in Egyptian history. According to the security manager for the hotel, the man stabbed each person in the chest 3 times with his knife, and they died bleeding out on the sand. Another staff member claimed that the murderer was seeking out foreigners on purpose, and that he purposely avoided stabbing any local Egyptians. And even though the local authorities claimed that the attacker's motives were still under investigation, it seemed that his motives were pretty clear. And to be honest, this is one of the most dangerous beaches you can vacation at, considering in 2017 the Egyptians were battling Islamic insurgents just a few miles away in the Sinai Peninsula. It seemed like a pretty bad idea to go to the beach when just a couple miles away, there was a literal war going on. Number 7. Death by shark. A man in Western Australia was killed in 2020 after being attacked by a shark. According to police at the time, it was the 8th fatal shark attack of the year. It happened at about 8:45 in the morning, when police were advised that there had been a shark incident at Cable Beach. The victim had to be pulled out of the water, though he was basically already dead from his injuries. He was a local guy, only 50 years old. According to Surf Life Saving Australia, Cable Beach is one of the most popular holiday destinations in the area, and yet there is a seriously high mortality rate when it comes to shark attacks. For a person to go swimming in a place everyone knows is infested with sharks just seems a little too risky if you ask me, and in this case it proved to be fatal. What's really crazy is that 2020 marked a year with the most shark-related deaths in Australia since 1934, according to CNN. These attacks happened all over Australia, making swimming at any of their beaches wildly dangerous. And yet, despite the danger, flocks of tourists arrived at beaches every day to go for a dip. So what do you think? Are they crazy or just fearless? Would you go swimming at a beach where you knew sharks could be lurking in the water? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 6. Buried in a landslide. At a popular Brazilian tourist beach, a family of 3 were recently the victims of a freak accident in which they were buried underneath a landslide. According to 7 News, Hugo Pereira and his partner Stella Souza and their baby all perished after a seaside cliff literally fell on them. They'd been enjoying an ordinary day at the beach, sitting underneath the base of a perfectly normal-looking cliff in the northern state of Rio Grande do Norte when the landslide was triggered out of nowhere. The cliff literally just fell away and buried the family under a mountain of rubble, also killing the family dog. A local resident witnessed the tragedy and tried his best to free the family from the debris. The resident pulled away rocks until he discovered the father already dead. Then he kept going until he found the mother, who was still holding on to her baby. The baby was rescued alive but sadly died later on from his injuries. This was a total freak accident. And the only good news here is that the family likely didn't suffer. With the weight of a mountain falling down on their heads, they almost certainly died instantly. Still, that doesn't make it any less tragic. It's also pretty scary to think that an ordinary day at the beach can result in a giant rock crushing your entire family without any warning. Number 5. The walrus that fell asleep. Humans aren't the only animals that have bad days at the beach. When a walrus was spotted off the western shore of Ireland just a couple months ago, nobody could understand how the animal had ended up so unusually far from its home. Now, experts have discovered that the walrus had probably fallen asleep on an iceberg very far away in the Arctic, then ended up floating all the way to Ireland while taking his nap. Sounds like a long nap. According to Kevin Flannery, the director of Ocean World Aquarium in Ireland, the walrus probably woke up when it was too late and he'd already drifted off the coast of Greenland and into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Walruses are notorious for falling asleep on icebergs, but they almost never wind up in Ireland. An Irish beach is no place for a walrus. After the animal was discovered, local authorities told the public to give the animal plenty of space and not go near it, considering it had just made a very long journey from the North Pole, and he was probably pretty tired. Animal experts figured that the walrus would fill up on local scallops before regaining his strength and making the journey back home. Number 4. Devastation at the beach. A man recently lost his life at the beach, and the story of how he died is nothing short of tragic. The 40-year-old father was trying to rescue his 2 young children who had been swept off the beach by a giant wave in Sonoma County. The father was with his kids and his wife at the edge of the water when a wave came crashing down and knocked everyone over. The wave was so intense that everyone got a little displaced, and the kids got swept right out into the ocean. The mother was able to escape, and the father would have made it out alive if he hadn't swam after his kids. But of course, you can't blame a parent for trying to rescue their children, and in this extremely unfortunate case, it didn't do any good. The 2 children were still missing several days later, and the father was unable to be revived when his body washed up on the shore. According to the local authorities, the family had just moved there and may not have been aware of just how dangerous the water can be. If you didn't grow up around beaches, chances are you're not familiar with just how violent and merciless the ocean can be, and just how quickly one wave can destroy your life. Number 3. The dolphin tackle. A man doing some paddleboarding was recently attacked by a vicious and possibly malicious dolphin. Now, we've all heard of beaches being dangerous because of sharks, but off the coast of Gracetown in Western Australia, the reason the beach is so dangerous is that dolphins are swimming around and attacking the surfers. Andrew Hill couldn't believe what was happening when the dolphin launched itself out of the water and body-checked him off his paddleboard and into the surf. This incredible incident was captured on camera by a local and shared online. And it may be the first documented case of a dolphin headbutting someone off their paddleboard. Of course, Andrew didn't blame the dolphin for the rude attack. He got out of the water safely without any injuries, though he was a bit shaken. Andrew figured the dolphin was probably looking for food and that it didn't even mean to hip-check the human. Then again, given how clever dolphins have proved to be in the past, it could have definitely been on purpose. Number 2. The legendary human chain. In a desperate attempt to rescue a couple of beachgoers in Alabama who were calling for help far from shore, about 20 Good Samaritans banded together to form a human chain. The whole point of the human chain was to reach the people in need and save them before they drowned. But unfortunately, everything went horribly wrong. A Tennessee mother of 2 named Karen Graham was part of this human chain, and she was also the only member of the chain that didn't make it back to shore. Before any rescuing could be done, the chain fell apart, and those who had been involved in it were suddenly tossed into the violent ocean. Karen happened to be the farthest away from the shore, seeing as she'd been the first one to enter the water. Unfortunately, she ended up getting tossed around too harshly by the giant waves, and she swallowed so much water that she died on her way to the hospital from a heart attack caused by an accumulation of salt in her bloodstream. In the end, the 2 original people who'd been in danger were saved with the help of first responders from the local fire rescue. The chief of the fire rescue made a plea to the locals, saying that human chains are far too dangerous and put way too many additional lives at risk. Number 1. Set on fire. A group of cruel hooligans recently set a man on fire at Ventura Beach, ruining his nap. A homeless man had been asleep on his sleeping bag at the beach, minding his own business, when 3 male suspects snuck up on him and lit him on fire. If not for a Good Samaritan who spotted the 6-foot-tall flames, the unfortunate homeless man may have burned to death. The 3 suspects had apparently poured lighter fluid on him and his belongings and then left him there to burn. At least this is according to the Ventura Police Commissioner Tom Higgins. The homeless man suffered 2nd and 3rd-degree burns, but he was expected to survive. He's probably traumatized, and it's doubtful he'll ever feel safe at the beach again. And unfortunately for the neighborhood, the police were unable to identify the perpetrators, as they hadn't left behind any evidence and there hasn't been any reliable witnesses. And suffice it to say, being burned alive is definitely one of the worst things that can happen to a person at a beach or really anywhere else, and 1,000 times more shocking than being eaten by a shark. Thanks for watching. What was your worst beach disaster? Let me know in the comments and be sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. We'll see you next time.